back with Patrick. We'll show him over here. Mr. P. Gotta figure out this CAN bus issue. You see the mess. So usually the CAN buses in these, you'll see they're twisted, so they don't get any interference. And I think it's this one right here. We'll get the schematic out. Without anything plugged in, controller, no RCM. Actually, you'll listen if I get over here. Put the ground on, and if this has that stupid smart charger, you know, I was thinking that. So back to the story here. Hear just what pulled in? Yeah. So no controllers are in, no ECMs. I've isolated it, so any wiring in here is out of play. You know, this is the, yep, so it's basically, so somewhere B plus is touching, I think the fuel valves are ground side control, so somewhere B plus is touching, fuel control, or if it's ground side control, in other words, if positive goes, maybe CAN bus is touching the ground and it's trying to ground through CAN bus. I mean, I just can't, I can't kind of decipher. I gotta draw it on paper here. The other thing we were to tell, right? So say I come over here to the CAN bus at the ECM harness, and I unplug and I measure that voltage, right? Anywhere, and I'm actually measuring my CAN bus here because it's just easier. So the 26 I see over here is on the CAN bus as well. Actually, I'm measuring right here because the charger gets CAN bus. So I'm seeing that voltage here on this CAN bus, right? So it's just easier to see when that goes away here, okay? When I disconnect the fuel valve, the voltage goes away, right? So now what I want to see is if I ground out the fuel valve and give it a good ground over there, if this voltage goes away. What that'll tell me is basically I'm giving the better path of the ground's tracking through that ground and relieving this ground if this ground drops. You get what I'm saying? Like, say it's tracking onto the CAN bus and grounding, that's why this is live. If I give it its own ground, it's going to take the stronger of the two, path of least resistance. And if that drops out, then, you know, I'm going to know if I'm on the positive side, B plus, or B negative side. And then we can just brute force it. We can follow the CAN bus, right? And cut the harness back and see where the CAN bus is touching. Because literally, the CAN bus should just be, with everything unplugged, it should be isolated. It should be 2 wires go to one node, 2 wires go to another node, 2 wires go to another node, right? They shouldn't touch any other wire. So if you have everything unplugged, you should just have basically CAN bus wires in a harness with no termination to anything else except the CAN bus, right? So I almost think, even though it sucks, just cutting this harness open
and just tracing it
and just following these CAN bus. Yeah. So maybe we'll do that. Yeah. All right. Patrick's going to unplug the fuel valve. I'm just lightly pressed in here.
Any one of these?
Yep. Okay, and the voltage goes away. That's not good. So now I'm going to come over with the test light.
Yep.
And I want to see, obviously we got voltage there. I just want to find out which one is B plus, just so we know. We'll tie a knot in it. All right. Okay. Yeah. So that's battery voltage. Okay. And here's what I want to show you also. I got battery voltage going in, right? I got battery voltage going out. Hear me grounding that?
Yeah.
Okay, so right here, let's call my light CAN bus.
Okay.
Right? Let's say my CAN bus light, now my CAN bus has voltage on it. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So say this is the CAN bus receiver. It has a ground. It's somewhere it's grounded, but really my CAN bus shouldn't be grounded, right? Because I got every controller unplugged. CAN bus doesn't terminate to ground with it, with all the controls unplugged. Basically, it's a trunk of wires, 2 wires floating in midair. It should not be grounded.
Yeah.
So we have some grounds intersecting in here somewhere. So basically, what can we do? We could just follow this wire
And see where it goes.
and see, because theoretically, if this is fuel control, this should just come off of a relay, and that relay should just be controlled by the ECM, right? It should not have an intersection that affects the CAN bus.
Yeah.
Although there could be a common ground where this is just hopping onto the CAN bus is grounded somewhere. So the easiest way might be to follow this. So I think it's just some harness
Searching.
exploration. I would also, maybe I could put a signal generator on this. No, because it's all one harness. I think we just got to cut harness open at this point. And I think it's going to be, if we find the error, like if it's repinned, we repin it and then we put it back together. If we don't, I think we're going to just be replacing the harness. All right, so I guess we'll get our cutting tools, we'll get the schematic out, and we'll start following this back. So that's B+. So we know we got B+ here. So we'll remember 70C, and we'll look on the schematic. So 70C, I want to look on the schematic for 70C. It has to be ground side control. I'm pretty sure it is, but again, we can't guess. All right, so schematic, we're gonna look at the schematic and come up with a game plan on what wires we're following, and we're gonna go from there. Yeehaw. All right, let me get the schematic out. So maybe some scissors, dikes, lights. I'm not sure. All right. This test will tell me if that fuel valve is in series. So kind of want to know the reason we got that 5 volts, assuming we're starting with battery voltage. So let me ground this. Okay. So now voltage going in, you can hear I'm grounding the circuit. So just for reference, if I'm grounding this, theoretically the fuel valve's going to take some voltage, drop some voltage, and this test light. Now I take the test light away, you see that 12 volts there, and now we're not splitting up that load. There's battery voltage, if that makes sense. So now, because when we do this, we are in series with no other load. The meter is just providing the ground, okay? So now, I'm gonna try to, this may be tough, because I'm gonna try to get in with this back probe. Let's see if I can do it. Okay, there we go. 7 volts. So that's the voltage I'm seeing with the fuel valve. That's the voltage I'm seeing on the CAN bus, meaning we are in series. I can drop that voltage down to lower by putting my test light, by adding another circuit on that. So that means I'm grounding through my CAN bus. That's the test I wanted to do. So Pat, B+ coming into the CAN bus, full battery, into the fuel valve, full battery voltage, comes out. If I just go series with my meter right to ground, I see that full battery voltage because I only have one load, there's nothing in series, okay? I connect the fuel valve control. If that was just straight ground, I would see basically 0 volts because ground to ground, right?
Yeah.
But because I'm in series and I'm testing between 2 loads, it's going to drop some voltage on one load, some will be left over, and then go through the other load. So basically, I just proved with this test that we are in series with the CAN bus. But here's how does the CAN bus get in series with ground? That means, I guess, and with the controllers out, that means CAN bus would have to be connected to ground somewhere. I could theoretically see through a controller or an ECM through a field, but those are out. And then it also, that makes no sense. And then it would also have to be grounded. I mean, CAN bus has to be grounded to carry that voltage to ground. So it doesn't make sense. And, you know, we're trying to make sense out of something that would work normally. But if the harness was pinned wrong, it's not normal. So of course it's not normal because it's not working. So basically so even if a ground was missing, the CAN bus would still be, something's grounding it through CAN bus. That's the bottom line. How does CAN bus provide a ground when no modules are hooked up? Although I did say fuel control was light blue and white, and CAN bus was blue and white. That's why I think opening up the harness and then verifying pin location. But pin location doesn't matter because nothing's plugged in. So it doesn't matter where they lie in the harness because they're just in midair at that point if the connector's not plugged in. That's my thought process. All over the place, but there is some rhyme and reason to that. Oh, boy. Alrighty, so here's the problem. After going through this schematic over and over, we have found this wire here, this harness here, has been plugged into this harness here. Listen for that fuel valve. We know that's when we were getting high voltage on the CAN bus. You unplug it. Well, if you notice here, that's a CAN bus wire. You can tell because it's twisted. If you look at, this is what I do. I like to use carabiners to clip in when I'm tracing through a harness. If you look at what's directly across, you see A to A, B to B. I got V relay 1, V relay 2. So going back to the schematic, if you look at the schematic over here, that's for fuel lock off, fuel select. I would assume that is for some sort of, my camera a little crooked, some sort of dual fuel situation here. And that's that. The connector with the CAN bus is a master track, which is a GPS module that has CAN bus on it. So there's where that CAN bus, if we look blue, pink, blue, white, blue, pink, and blue, white, that 18. So A and B, we're getting plugged into, that's CAN bus. To relay power and fuel select. That's your problem there. To throw that off, we got to work off 2 different schematics. One for the engine, PSI, and one from the manufacturer. All right, kind of coming down the home stretch here. We are reinstalling the ECMs. In these, there is a primary and a secondary. Patrick's putting in the secondary as we speak. So the key mark is, the big one is on the right, so we're going to go in like this. So once he's tight, I'll match this into here. Okie doke. So we found that problem, and just to confirm, well, I got the unit powered up, but we want to make sure there's nothing on that CAN bus. So we got a good ground over here. And just to make sure I'll turn the light on here. Just to make sure, we'll show that my meter works and that I got a good ground. There's your battery voltage. So then we'll hit CAN bus. 1, 2, there's 2 different networks here. Okay, and then there's 2 over from the bottom. There. Again, I'm using a small probe, not to spread those. So there's nothing on that CAN bus. So what I'm gonna do is also, I think I was on this yellow. I'm gonna probe into there so when we get some activity, I'll see some activity. All right, so now I'm gonna have you disconnect the battery, and if you have a hotspot, so I can download the profile. Okay. So we're gonna file.
I think it has to connect.
Yeah, so, okay, so you're disconnected?
Oh, you want to disconnect the battery?
Yep. Here's the scary part coming up.
So no charge, no battery?
No charge, no battery.
Like undo the battery?
Yeah, undo the charger, undo the battery, please. Yep.
Right. Battery's off.
Okay. Shoot.
What?
You got 7%. So now we're gonna add batteries off.
Battery's off.
Okay, here we go. Bam. Oh. When you put the battery in, like, be sure about it. Don't,
Back down all the way?
yeah, like, don't let it spark.
Okay.
All right, go for it.
Do you have a wrench over here for it?
No, just get it on, finger tight, because,
All right, ready?
yep. I see a bright screen. Oh. Are we recording? Yeah, we're recording. I see a bright screen. I wonder if I have any CAN. Oh yeah, we got a CAN signal. I'm on. I don't have enough speed on this to do it. Oh, let's see. Yeah, look at that. Okay, so what we're gonna do, I'm on a slow scope there, but that's a CAN bus signal. Now what I'm gonna do is get a faster scope out. So that's good news. We got communication, so you can tighten that up. I am going to get a faster scope. Nah. Yeah, you might as well. So now we are going to go battery powered HS 402. All right. Controllers in. We confirm we have CAN bus activity with the scope. Now we're fighting. You don't ever want to plug in and create a ground loop. We could be back. Battery as well. We'll see.
Is it chargers wise?
Different. I may have you grab, yeah, if you grab your computer, I'll have to email you the profile. We can't delay any longer. We are going to hit that famous run button. Yeah.